Hey, good afternoon, men. It has been a great 2021, and we're excited to get into 2022. Hard to believe it's here, but it is, and so let's go for it. As we wrap up, final chapter of Night Driving today, chapter 9, I think is one of the best chapters in the whole book. This book, the whole thing about this, you don't have to be afraid of your failures. You got to trust that God is working in them to make you more like Jesus. And this particular chapter called Stewarding Your Scars, absolutely incredible. I've got scars all over my physical body from decisions that I made that left me wounded and hurt. And every scar reminds me, though, that somebody was working on my body to try to heal me. And in the same way, we're left with so many different spiritual scars from experiences, mental scars, emotional scars, that sometimes they haunt us. And we don't want to be haunted by them. The privilege of knowing Jesus Christ is that we do not have to be haunted by scars. We don't have to be. We actually get to embrace those and remember that those are signs of Jesus' victory. So I'm going to read some different quotes that I thought were just amazing. Here was one that I thought was great. It said, "The message preached by every advertisement is this: only a fool would keep his or her imperfections. In our culture, the new sin has become keeping our scars." So the world doesn't want you to keep your scars, but yet they're tattooing all the time, which is a form of a scar, but it's an identification scar that is cool. And we're talking about scars now that aren't cool and that need to be gotten rid of, okay? And they talked about what? All the Botox and the cosmetic surgeries, anything to take away any imperfection. But Chat Bird says this: the last thing we need to lose is our scars. The gracious favor of God makes sacred these marks of our old sins. Can you believe that? That your old sins can be made sacred by God? He goes on, he says this is Christian growth, to become in our weakness more and more dependent on His strength, to seek in our woundedness more and more of His healing. And he says this: the joy of Jesus is the victory of those who have no chance to win. Let me read that again. The joy of Jesus is the victory of those that have no chance to win. But we win on the cross because in our stead is the one who assumes our sin and death and rebellion and gives us a new name. See, Jesus isn't afraid of our sin. He took it upon Himself. He's not afraid of our failures. Because why? Because He's not going to fail. And I love that picture that they said that ultimately Jacob, Israel himself, in his train wreck of a life, comes face to face with God, has that wrestling match, and God actually chooses to lose in order that Jacob would win. Isn't that incredible? That's a picture that God has Israel remember as a nation for the rest of history. And we too need to remember that in our failures, Christ isn't condemning us, He's not shaming us, but He's stepping in and He's saying, let your failures be a sign of His victory. I want to read this last one. He says, our scars are God's gifts to us. They're the means Jesus uses not to anchor us to the past, but to propel us into the future as those who know the wounding power and the healing grace of God. We know both what? The wounding power and the healing grace of God. God lets us go through things. We are going to suffer. Things caused by ourselves, things caused by other people, things that just happen in the world. That's a fact. We don't have to be afraid, though, guys. We don't have to live condemned. Let's embrace the scars from the past and let them propel us into the beauty of God's grace now and in the future. Hey, hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't had a chance to read that book yet, go back. That's a keeper. I love it. Coming up, ResGen, we're going to send out a video announcement tomorrow, so we'll be looking for that. January 29th. It's going to be an awesome opportunity to bring friends, connect around some great teaching, and a really fun time. We're going to have a great breakfast. We're going to get a book from Sam Ocho, and I'm excited about it. So be looking for that, and thanks for being on the journey with us. Later.